friends, welcome to VtM Montreal. Demimonde. This series follows up immediately after the end of Black Pentecost. And we will see what happens in the other Montreal, the Montreal below Ville-Marie, as it is called, the underworld of the city, and see what goes on down there. It's probably a bit of a strange place. I'm pretty sure it is. Thank you all for hanging out with us, being here tonight. Showing up in numbers as always to hang out and chat and see our vampires do crazy stuff. I'd like to give a shout out as always to Raven Sarah, best mod in the universe. If I was a vampire, I'd want to be Clan Raven Sarah. Thank you very much, Raven, for being here at all times and for doing what you do. We truly appreciate you. And the music tonight is by Carl Casey. Those sweet, sweet sounds that you hear lapping up at your ears are by Mr. Casey, a Canadian, a fellow Canadian. So do check out their links and check out their stuff. A lot of great stuff. We are going to get into it here in just 1 second. Before we do, I would like to give the microphone to Kato, who would like to say a little something.
Hello, all. I wanted to say something just in light of recent events in the United States and around the world. We tell stories to remember. Remember the things that happened. Remember who we are and who we want to be. Remember those who fought for these rights and those whose lives serves as examples to those of us who struggle. Many of us are struggling right now, and to see the erasure of our past, of the pain and suffering, and the defiance and joy in the face of hatred only reinforces why we need to tell stories, share with each other the knowledge that they are trying to erase and the truths we know to be self-evident, which draw the ire of those too base to offer love. We tell stories to remember. One day the monsters will once again be gone. Until then, we tell stories and remember those who gave everything so that we could be who we know ourselves to be.
Thank you very much. Lomax has gifted Darling Creepshow a 9 move. Thank you, Kato. We are going to get into this now. As soon as I press the button. The button's important to press the button. Love. The ancient Greeks recognize that there are many different types of love, and so they had several words for love to be used in specific circumstances. Eros was romantic love, agape, selfless, universal love, philia was love between friends, and mania, obsessive love, amongst others. So many words for it, yet how deeply misunderstood love remains. For all that poets have cried and bled rivers of ink waxing about love, it remains a most vexing subject. It's uniquely powerful in its hold over us, both when we are in its throes and when it has deserted us. Even my brethren, the kindred, whose appetite is without peer, whose lust for blood is a very definition of our being. Love can hold sway and drive us to madness. Some say it is love that is at the core of our Prince Max of Clan Nosferatu, the madness, that his love for beauty and art, which was stolen from him upon his embrace by a bitter Nosferatu, has festered and sickened him. He plays at being monarch, painting his drab underground world with a brush dripping with bright colors, pretending this is some fairy tale world, and he the fairy tale king. But we often forget that fairy tales were once quite dark and twisted tales that served one purpose only, to warn us of danger. But danger is just one more thing that love can blind us to. Please. It's cold, but you don't feel the cold. You are standing on the shore, somewhere on the South Shore, best you can tell. The night is dark, the ice is moving on the St. Lawrence River very slowly, and up ahead on the bench is a man. He's sitting there wearing a long coat and some sort of fedora type hat, and he's kind of hunched over, and he's got a bag of bread, and he's pulling little bits and pieces out of it, and he's feeding this one lone pigeon that somehow has made it all the way out here in the middle of winter, in the middle of darkness. Pieces of bread. You're not too sure how you got here, but you know you're supposed to be here. You see him and he looks at you out of the corner of his eye. What do you do?
I think Elise tiptoes in the way she always does, no shoes on, up to the man.
Hello, young lady. What are you doing out here on such a cold night?
I'm not sure. Seems as though maybe I'm supposed to be here for some reason.
Well, very rare that people find their way here without reason. Come, sit with me a while. Would you like to help me feed Robert here? And he tips the bag of bread over to you.
She takes a handful and scatters the crumbs.
The pigeon coos and comes over and picks at the bits and pieces of stale bread that are littering the snow now. You strike me as someone on the verge of making a bit of a voyage. Are you going somewhere?
I am. Down. Below. To hell, I think.
Well, it certainly is a very romantic place to go, I think. Writers throughout history have been fascinated with it. So many things have been written about hell that you'd think we know everything there is to know about it, but I think you know better, don't you?
Doesn't always sound like such a nice place, does it? Fire and brimstone, if you ask the Christians.
The Christians think they have answers to everything.
Don't they?
At least I get the feeling it'd be warm down there, which would be a plus right now. This freaking weather is just freezing me all the way down to the marrow of my bones.
You feel it, the cold?
I do. These old bones are not quite as well protected as they used to be, and, well, it seeps into the joints, you know? Someday when you grow old, you'll know what I mean. Still got that bloom of youth on you, so I guess you're probably feeling pretty spry right now.
You seem to know what to expect down there.
I've been down there a few times. Tell you what, it's hard to know what to expect. It's always a little different for everyone. Everyone's got their own little hell. But I'll tell you one thing. The underworld is a place that changes people. If you go down there, you're probably going to have to die before you can return. I'll tell you this also, your man can't save you. When you die, so does he. You'll have to return here to save him. That should be pretty good motivation, shouldn't it?
I don't like the sound of that.
Oh, no one does, but that's if you take things very literally. I've found that, especially in places like Montreal, where there's so much history and energy and magic, it's best to take things with a little bit of a fairy dust on it, so to speak.
There are many ways one could die.
That's
Some
true.
are even scarier than actual death itself, I'd say. I've seen the souls of men die in my life. Quite terrifying.
You do strike me as someone who knows a little bit about death.
You seem to know some yourself.
I've died a few times myself. Never pleasant. It's always kind of yucky. I mean, people romanticize it to no end. But when you think about it, it's really kind of just a lot of shitting yourself and crying and wishing that you were doing anything but.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah, I'm almost out of bread here, but sure, go ahead.
What is this man wearing that's sitting next to me?
He's wearing just this kind of... So he's wearing kind of a big, thick, heavy long coat with like a fur trim around it. And when you look closer, he seems to be wearing maybe like some kind of really old-timey priest's cassock or something. It's kind of this black, very severe-looking, old-looking kind of dress thing.
I think she's going to reach her fingers up and run them through the fur of his coat.
What do they call you?
And when she says this, when she touches that coat, she's also trying to reach out with Spirit's touch.
You reach out with Spirit's touch, and for a moment, the image that you glimpse is Montreal has disappeared. It's just this vast, snow-covered forest. And there's a boat, one of those old boats with the three masts and the sails and a flag of France coming down the St. Lawrence River. And he says, oh, you know, I have many names. And as he says that, you see him collapse on himself, and all of a sudden, all these rats start coming out of every bit of his clothing, out of the sleeves, out of the under the jacket, down at the bottom where his legs were, at the bottom of his feet. The boots are emptying out, and all of a sudden there's just these dozens and dozens of rats, and the clothes collapse down on themselves, and the rats just sort of spread out everywhere.
I think she shrinks back from this a bit.
And as you do, you find yourself startling up, sitting in one of the reading chairs in the study at the house. Fletcher's just coming into the study, and he kind of stops and goes, Are you all right?
I'm fine. I think I went away for a minute.
Did you see
You
the
saw
nun
a man?
again?
No. A man. It was sitting by the water, feeding pigeons. And then he turned into rats.
And she kind of like looks around the floor so she can still see all those rats scurrying away.
Yeah, you kind of see their shadowy forms, and then it's just the shadows that are kind of moving around. It's a little freaky, but soon enough they start to disappear.
He knew I was going somewhere. He seemed insightful.
Did he have words of wisdom?
Just a bit complicated. He talked about death. About dying in the underworld, and when I die, you die. I didn't like the sound of it.
It's probably not to be taken too literal, I would assume. I mean, we're already dead, and some people's way of thinking.
Yes, but as I said to him, sometimes true death is even better than the other ways that one could die.
True enough. I was coming to tell you that Maria's gone.
Hmm.
She couldn't face you. She said that it would be too sad. And she didn't want to be sad. She said she wanted to find reasons to celebrate. She said she's been reborn, that you're her mother, Mary full of grace, she called you. And she said that it was cause for celebration.
Leave it to the Christians to turn a tragedy into a celebration. And I think with that, she kind of pushes herself up from the chair and slinks over to Fletcher, her hands running up the front of him.
Do you know what today is, darling?
Friday?
It's another tragic Christian celebration. It's Valentine's Day.
Oh. I don't think I've thought of that for a long time. I'm sorry, I didn't get you anything.
Oh, well, I don't know if chocolates and roses are really appropriate for the beheading of a saint, are they? But strange, really. You know, I always thought the pagans celebrated it a lot more interesting. Lupercalis. So much more fun. Priests naked running in the streets, whipping young virgins with bits of sacrificed flesh. Far more interesting, wouldn't you say?
Sounds like a few Sabbat parties I've been to.
I'd like if you took me to one of those.
I don't know if we're going to be able to. There's something strange going on in Quebec City. I don't even know if... Speaking of strange Christian things, I always thought it was kind of intriguing that the Sabbat took so strongly to Christian iconography and, you know, calling their leaders cardinals and bishops and things of that nature. I guess you grew up to resemble what you hate most, or what hates you most, perhaps?
Rebels with their sacrilege.
It's hard to think of anything as sacrilegious when you've seen and done some of the things we've seen and done. I feel sometimes like those labels are very arbitrary and they only serve to mask greater truths. Things that enlighten us and are thus meant to be hidden away for fear that we'll understand more than we're supposed to.
Gods forbid.
What are your thoughts on Valentine's Day then?
Hallmark holiday? What do I know of that, though? At least I've heard people say that word. Do you know what Hallmark is?
I think they make movies. I don't know.
Ah, right.
Do you think we should get a television?
How dare you?
I thought. I want to give you something before you go away. Would you do me the favor of letting me put a little bit more work on your skin before you go?
Always.
And he gets up and he bends a hand and takes your hand and pulls you up and brings you close to him, and he goes, I mean, if you really, really want, we can go out running after Father Dubois and strip him and then beat him with a switch, but I think he'd like that.
Something tells me you would. We could have our own little Lupercalia here.
Anything for you, darling. And he'll lead you away into the room where he does his work. Meanwhile, in the underworld, JD. It's another night in Montreal's underworld, city of Ville Marie. What exactly is Desmond getting up to? What's an evening like for Desmond and the underworld?
Desmond follows almost the same exact routine each and every night. He awakens in his haven, a small room in one of the abandoned parts of the metro station. And then he walks. He walks for hours, mapping the underground, finding the dead ends, finding the hidden places, but also spending time amongst the more populated areas, always on the outskirts, always watching, always seeking for sensation, but not too much sensation. And looking for any familiar faces as he does so.
You never do. You never see any. You never find any familiar faces. There's a strange feeling you get when you're here. It's like you don't recognize the room, but you recognize the scent lingering in it, the perfume lingering in it. There's something about this place that hints at memories, but it's all so alien and different and not at all what you think you would remember. You're certain you should remember this place. You're certain you've been here. You're certain that this place used to mean something to you, but no matter where you go, no matter where you walk, there's nothing that comes back to you. As you're on your nocturnal perambulation, your phone beeps with a text coming in. It's a text from Tristan. Hey Des, you're not too busy tonight. You want to swing by the shop? I have a bit of a problem. I think you might be able to help.
Desmond is still getting used to technology. When he feels the faint vibration of the phone, they jump a little in surprise. But they are used to receiving messages from Tristan, though not usually messages like this. And so he sends back, "Of course, I can stop by. How urgent is the problem?"
Text comes back. The damage is already done.
And Desmond responds with, "I'll be right there."
You travel quickly, hopping onto the metro. Public transportation in Montreal is very, very good. You hit a couple stops and get off at Berry-UQAM, find your way into one of the side tunnels and emerge on the edges of the night village. The night village is an enigmatic and vibrant microcosm hidden beneath Montreal, nestled within the depths of Ville-Marie, the underground city. This modern village spans a few city blocks, seamlessly connected by a labyrinth of tunnels that pulse with life, offering an atmosphere of urban surrealism. A veritable maze of tunnels, nooks, and crannies, hidden archways, and tiny plazas. The architecture is a striking blend of brutalist concrete forms and 70s retrofuturistic designs in bright yellows, oranges, and whites. It's situated beneath the gay village and is really just a continuation of one of Montreal's most famous districts. The spaces within Night Village feel like a time capsule with concrete structures contrasting against sleek, gaudy, brightly lit plastic designs. The buildings, all basements and sub-basements of surface constructions, merge seamlessly into one another, with some walls painted warm oranges and yellow that harken back to the 70s era. Low lighting and ambient neon signs illuminate the walkways, casting a moody, dreamlike glow that enhances the village's otherworldly vibe. The heart of Night Village is the bustling market scene. Shops, stalls, kiosks line the walkways, selling everything from artisanal goods to exotic street food. The scent of fresh pastries and sizzling delicacies fill the air, while cafes tucked in corners offer a cozy escape for anyone looking to sip on rich espresso or indulge in some retro-style cocktails, as do the various bars found here. You quickly move through the spaces, the tunnels, the archways, and eventually arrive at Tristan's shop. It's tucked away there under a set of stairs that lead up. It's a very, very small bookshop. And when you arrive, you find Tristan picking up as the shop has been savaged. Someone has come in, tossed books on the floor, ripped some of them up, broken shelves, destroyed some of the little knickknacks that he sells on the sides. And your friend Tristan is looking very, very sad as he's picking up books and stacking them haphazardly on tables and on desks wherever there's an empty space. He doesn't even notice you arriving at first.
There's a moment as Desmond steps into the shop, taking inventory of the damage, that he pushes back the hood that has been mostly obscuring his face to this point, and his face is still partially covered. You can see bright green eyes and long hair that is dyed a color of red that is thoroughly not natural. But the lower half of his face is covered with a leather mask. And he stands there for a moment before kneeling down to help Tristan, reaching for one of the books to pick it up and help with this destruction.
No. I didn't hear you come in. Sorry, trying to wrap my head around this.
You don't have anything to apologize for, Tristan. And Tristan is the only person, for the most part, that Desmond ever speaks out loud to.
I hope I didn't take you away from anything important.
I can't imagine much would be more important than this, what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's been happening to a few of the others. There's some group of kids, boys. They've been squeezing the store owners around here in the Night Village. They are trying to put together some kind of half-assed protection racket, I guess. I think they might have done this. They didn't even steal anything. They just wrecked the place. I told them I barely afford rent down here. It's not like I'm making money enough to give money to anyone. And besides, I don't want to give these idiots money just to not bust up my shop.
Nor should you give them money to not engage in this petty vandalism.
I called the cops. One of them came down. He couldn't give a fuck. Sergeant Inspector St. Pierre was his name. Fred St. Pierre or something. He was actually smiling as he was walking on the books. He said, so maybe you should ask the wolf for protection. She likes to read, I hear, he says. Even finished a book once. Oh, fucking asshole.
Bleak, how much would Desmond have heard about the wolf?
You would definitely have heard of the wolf. She is a bruja, and is involved heavily in affairs dealing with protests, things of that nature. She's kind of like a intermediary between City Hall and the very vibrant protest and riot scene in Montreal, which is quite something, and is known as someone who likes to keep the cops on their toes, has been a very outspoken defender of the rights of any marginalized communities in Montreal, and is kind of seen as just that, as like a figure of protection for the people in the city who tend to be targeted the most.
Desmond takes a moment, reflects on that, and says, honestly, that may be the one intelligent thing that Sergeant said.
I was wondering if you knew this person, this wolf person, but I also don't want to just be paying somebody else to protect me from these idiots who want me to pay them, you know what I mean?
I understand, and, well, I do not know her. I believe I could find her. I'd be happy to see what price, if any, she would be looking for to help in this.
I'd really appreciate that. If they're into books like the cop said, then they're welcome to take anything they want in the shop if it'll help. These idiots, the kids, they call themselves the menagerie if ever you run into them.
I will keep that in mind in case our paths ever do cross. I hope they don't, for their sake.
Thanks for coming. I really don't have a lot of people that I'd consider friends and I would call on, and I appreciate you coming.
I am glad that you called me. I'm happy to help, Tristan.
You doing okay? You good?
I'm as good as I ever am.
I keep trying to put this place together. If you hear anything or get to talk to this wolf person, will you let me know?
I absolutely will. And before I leave to see if I'm down, would you care for any help in cleaning this place up?
No, kind of feel like I have to do it. My sister's gonna come over a little later, she said. It's gonna help. I mean, It's not a huge shop. It's not like I'm Indigo or something. But some of these books are pretty difficult to get. I want to make sure that I get all the ripped pages back where they're supposed to be. I'll be fine. Thanks.
And Desmond lightly runs his fingers along the book that he's holding and says, I can never understand what makes people destroy things just for the sake of destruction. It's so meaningless.
I think that's some people have a hole inside of them that's so deep that they have no clue what to fill it in. And that makes people a little, I don't know. People panic, I think, and lash out. It becomes, inflicting pain becomes the only way they know of trying to salve their own pain. But as they've been teaching us in school all this time, 2 wrongs don't make a right.
No, I suppose they do not. I'll be in touch, Tristan.
Thanks, Des. I appreciate it. As you turn and exit the shop, would you do me a rouse check?
I would love to.
I mean, there's love, then there's love.
I got 1 success.
All right, you're good. The beast, for the moment, while it may growl at the injustice that you've just seen, is not growling out of hunger, which is always a good sign. As you step back out into the main area of Night Village, what do you want to do?
Desmond wants to see if they can track down the wolf, and would likely start by seeing if there is any activism, any riots, anything that might draw the wolf's attention that could lead him to them.
Go ahead and make me a roll. I'm gonna ask you to make me a wits plus streetwise roll. Do you know how Demiplane works?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. That is 0 successes. We're doing great here.
Rough night at the Apollo. You try to. Do you want to spend a 9 move and roll 2 more dice? You'd have to spend 2 9 moves though. So.
You know.
Sorry.
You
Sorry
know.
for putting that in front of
Well,
you.
yeah. We will not be doing that. We will accept our failure for this moment.
You head out into the back into Night Village and pick up one of the underground newspapers that are easily available for free everywhere around the city, and you start looking for anything that might possibly draw the attention of someone like the wolf. Meanwhile, Bones.
Hello.
Hi. You have gone out to meet someone that you know, someone you've had dealings with once or twice. Her name is Andrea, and she works for a non-profit organization that deals with domestic abuse and such. It's not, she doesn't run a halfway house or a safety house or anything like that. She's more into she works in the streets, and it's more about prevention, tracking these things and whatnot. She's usually got a pretty good ear to the ground about these kinds of things going on, and she reached out to you and asked if you could come by. When you show up to meet her, she meets you at this little cafe that's in one of the underground plazas in Montreal, the Alexis Neon Plaza. You meet her, and by the time you get there, things are winding down. There's not a lot of people around. Most of the shoppers have gone. The store is only open for another half hour or so, and you see her sitting in the back corner in the food court, waiting for you.
Margot walks with probably too much confidence. She's sort of a leggy girl and dressed in this heavy military surplus and very punk rock, very head to the ground though, sort of kind of keeping to herself. Sort of not minding any of the vaping policy within the underground. She is got a disposable vape glued to her hand and is just mindlessly hitting it while she's walking straight for Andrea.
You find her clutching a takeaway mug of tea, and as you approach, she gets up a little bit. She's a slightly older Asian woman, and she gets up a little bit and waves at you. She's wearing this very bright blue dress, and she's got this knit cardigan over it, and she looks like just a kindly mother, really, is what she looks like. And thanks, Reese, for the night move that you gave to Bones. And Dracaris is throwing a couple out there. I think there's going to be some for everyone. Someone will keep track of it. She's like, thank you, Margot, for coming to see me. I'm sorry to just reach out to you the way I did. Do you want something? I think they're going to close soon, but you can probably still squeeze in and get something if you want at the kiosk there.
No, I'm good. It's cool. You don't have to apologize for just calling on me if you've got something.
I'm a little nervous actually, because I think this is something pretty bad. I was told you've been tracking this guy for a while. I'll start at the beginning. This woman who was at one of the shelters that I volunteer at a couple times a week. She was there because her husband was a real piece of work, and she had to get out of the house. No kids, thankfully, but she'd been at the shelter for maybe a month and a half, 2 months. As far as I know, the husband was out of the picture. He'd sort of taken his medicine and left. But she met this guy. She met this guy online, went out to meet him. His name was Stain. He apparently was really great to her, real kind of Prince Charming kind of fellow. And after a few weeks of dating, he got her to leave the shelter. He set her up in a small apartment. Wouldn't accept anything in return, from what I hear. And then a couple of nights ago, he was coming over and they were going to have dinner, and he was maybe going to spend the night, and she thought that this was going to be it. He took her out. They went out to a nice dinner. He brought her flowers. Then when they got back home, he just laid into her. He just beat her to within an inch of her life, and He told her the apartment was in her name but hadn't been paid for. Took pictures of her. But the thing that made me call you about it was she said he had a little black book with a black fleur-de-lis on the cover. And as soon as she says that, Margot, you click. You've been hearing rumors about this guy for a while. They call him the stranger. The French women call him l'enfant terrible. He's apparently a very good looking man, apparently with some money. And he's been targeting very specifically poor victims, mostly women, a few men. He chats them up somewhere, meets them online. Sometimes they go to a motel. Sometimes he actually dates them for a while. Then when they're at the point of ultimate vulnerability, he assaults them. Never sexually, just violence. It's kind of like meeting Prince Charming and thinking you're finally found the love of your life, and just when you fall for him, he just turns on you. And the thing that's kind of drawn your attention about him is that it all seems very calculated, and you've felt for a while now like there's more behind it, more than just a guy getting his kicks. There's too much work into it. Sometimes he goes weeks and weeks setting these people up for the fall, dating them, buying them things, taking them places. It is incredibly involved. And the one thing that ties him to a lot of the other ones you've said is that he has a little black book with a fleur-de-lis on the cover. Inside, everyone who's seen it say the same thing. It's written in gibberish. There are lines of texts, but no one can read it. It's kind of like some sort of code, maybe.
Where is she now?
She's at the CHUM, which you know is the big hospital in the downtown area.
I want to talk to her.
I don't know if it'll be possible right now, but I mean, I'm sure that it can be arranged.
Just give her my number when she's ready to call me, but this asshole you are describing is a fucking menace. The stranger.
Everyone's
sure
saying the cops are pretending like he doesn't exist, and
he exists. Listen, whatever girls you come across who seem like they are talking to anybody, somebody seems like this Prince Charming type, I want you to call me with their names and where they're at. But this guy is a problem. Big fucking problem.
a lot of people are saying you're the only one that can do something about it.
Something like that.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't necessarily like your methods. I don't think that violence is the answer to some of these things. I usually think that there are better ways to deal with things, but I think this is probably the only way this guy gets taken off the board.
I had to make a decision a long time ago on my moral stance. And I think it's within my rights as a woman to kill your local abuser. So you can have your opinions. I respect it, I guess. I'm gonna fuck this guy up.
The woman said one more thing. She overheard him on the phone one day as he was coming up to the apartment. She was near the door and she heard him just before he knocked. He was talking in French, she said. And he talked about something called the hive. He said la ruche.
Does this strike a chord for Margot at all?
Not at all.
The fuck is the hive?
Maybe a bar or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. Did she say what it was in reference to?
And that's all she heard. He said something along the lines of, they'll be at the hive, or we'll meet at the hive, or something like that.
Got it. Are you good?
I mean, is anybody?
I don't know. I feel pretty fucking good right now.
Well, take that with you, I guess, and do what you need to do.
Yeah, I'll figure it out. Call me if anything comes up.
I will. First call.
All right. Be careful.
You get up and exit. As you are walking back towards, I don't know if you're going to the metro, if you're exiting, if you're the type of person who drives around in a car.
No, she definitely takes public transit. I don't think that Margot knows how to drive, actually.
Public transit in Montreal is great. So you walk by. So there's, ever since the government got really close to the Kindred, ever since the government started spying on Kindred communication, it's been illegal or forbidden for Kindred to talk about things on the internet or use cell phones and whatnot. The Nosferatu in Montreal have set up a system called Tenebris, which is a dead drop system through which Kindred can send messages to each other. The way you know if you have a message, there are boards across the city, and anyone who is signed up to this system has a symbol. And whenever there's a message waiting for you, there's a little red square that appears next to the symbol. And as you're walking back towards the metro, you see one of these boards, one of the big screens that usually runs adverts for the stores in the shopping mall, flickers for a moment, and you see your little symbol with a little red square next to it. When you see that, you know that there's a physical message waiting for you at the Berry-UQAM bus station.
Okay. I imagine Marco's little symbol is a frowny face with 2 X's for eyes.
Perfect.
Okay. She's going to head straight there then.
Meanwhile, Fiona, your office is abuzz with action. There's phones ringing, people are busy coming and going. There's this flurry of activity. There's a protest that's being planned right now against the closure of Maison Chartrand, which is a home and school for young women who are underage and find themselves without families or a home. The people who ran it were caught embezzling the city. Now the city wants to close it and split up the 7 or so girls that are there, but you know there's something else going on. You know that one of the girls who went there recently who arrived was a plant. She let in a group of guys late one night, and they took a girl that they'd been trafficking before out of there. The city tried to cover it, but when it started coming out, this story about embezzlement was released, and now they're trying to just close it quick while people are kind of bamboozled by this story. There are people involved who want the truth to come out. Many of them have reached out to you. Something you know that complicates matters is that City Hall is run by Galen Redpath, who is the Ventrue Elder and a Primogen in Montreal above. You've had several run-ins with him before. He's warned you before to run all the shit you want at street level, but to stay out of City Hall business. You've been in your office as this protest is being planned, and you know the protest is only going to go so far. It may not go all the way and reveal the truth, so you've been kind of steaming and fuming and planning and plotting, trying to figure out a way to address this issue. What does your office look like, and what does Fiona look like as we glimpse them for the first time?
The office is dark. It's got black stone with gold seaming running through it. There's comfortable but minimalist furniture there with accents of kind of a deep tealy navy blue. Given the fact that she deals in chaos, she keeps her space tidy at all times. She's sat in her office chair behind the desk in a sharp black jacket. She has long, dark brown, almost black hair with a silver streak through the front and piercing blue eyes.
As you're sitting there thinking about all this, there's a knock that comes on the frame of the door to your office, and you look up to see Bruno there, one of your main ghouls.
What is it?
Any news about Bastion, boss?
No, I haven't heard a damn thing, and when I do, I'll tell you.
People are talking, you know, they say that something happened to him upstairs.
What people? Who's doing the talking?
People?
Don't fuck with me. What people?
I'm just telling you, it's a rumor that's going around that maybe one of your people upstairs did something to him.
One of mine.
Well, you know.
Right. Well, let me tell you something, Bruno. I'm going to have you track down who's the one spreading all these rumors, and you're going to bring them here. Because if I don't see Bastion in the next 24 hours, someone's going to have their ass handed to them.
All right. You got it, boss. There's someone here to see you.
Who is it?
His name is Costa. He says he's family.
Fuck, that he is. Send him in.
He steps away, and coming into your office behind him is an elegant, well-dressed man, a simple black suit with a very modern haircut, a bit of a Mediterranean look about him. And you recognize Costa Doxiatis, a member of Clan Bruja, like you. Costa used to be the leader of the Anarchs until about a year and a half ago, when there was a big to-do, and the Anarchs moved to the South Shore and elected a new, well, not elected, they kind of beat each other up until there was only one person left standing. But they got a new Baron now running the Anarchs on the South Shore, and he stayed in Montreal, and he's been kind of quiet, but a lot of people are saying that he's working on something. You haven't really talked to him too much. You know that there are a lot of rumblings going on amongst your clan right now that with the Gangrel, who are almost basically out of the Camarilla at this point and just kind of hanging on by a thread, there's a lot of Bruja were saying that, you know, the clan should do the same thing, go with the Anarchs or strike out on their own. And you know that's a big topic of discussion, but right now the leader of the Bruja in town, Ben Sabourin, is kind of keeping everyone locked down tight. But Costa's someone who's kind of outside of all of that, and as he steps in, he reaches into his jacket and pulls out a couple of lollipops. And he's like, "Sweet tooth?"
None for me, thanks.
You don't know what you're missing.
I'm sure. What do you want?
It pops in his mouth. Mary, sit down.
Of course. I look up to Bruno and just give him a nod that indicates stay close to the door.
He nods and moves around the corner. Very nice office.
Thanks.
Decorated yourself?
I did.
You got taste.
What is it you want, Costa?
You know the old saying, it's not what I want, but it's rather what I can do for you.
Let me guess, you're about to make me an offer I can't refuse.
Oh, you can refuse it all you want. I mean, you know, I've stopped trying to guess what people are going to do a long time ago. I'm reading a situation, and I feel like maybe you're going to be having some trouble down at City Hall.
And whatever gave you that idea,
Well, this whole thing you got going on right now with this protest and the girl's house, we both know that, you know, there's a wall of bullshit piled about yay high around it. And that means that anything you do, if you want it to have any sort of actual impact, is going to have to reach pretty deep into City Hall. And we all know how much they love you there. Is it true that the mayor has your picture mounted on a wall and he throws darts at it when he gets drunk?
I'm not here to suppose what the mayor might get up to in his private time. It's either that or he's got his hand halfway down his pants for me, so...
Well, he's a politician. He's pretty well versed at doing two opposite things at the same time.
I've got a lot on my plate, if you haven't been aware of what's happening in the city and around the whole fucking northern continent here. So, tell me what you want to tell me instead of beating around the bush and trying to be charming about it, because if you're going to go in and reach in and rip Galen out from underneath the City Hall grasp, then by all means I'll take you up on that, but
I'm not gonna
anything short of that.
I'm not going to rip anyone out. I'm here to try and bring people together and make peace.
The fuck are you on about?
Look, I think that there's some major tumult coming. There's a lot of stuff happening in our world, the kindred world, that we're not super aware of because communications are down, but I think there's a lot coming down our way, and I think that this whole business of the city being separated into that's not going to be good for us in the long run. And I think that it might be time for us to start reaching across the aisle, as it were, and shake some hands and make some friends.
Yeah, we saw what reaching across the aisle has done. I don't know that that's going to go over so well.
Regardless, I have some pull down at City Hall, but I also have some pull with Galen. And if you want me to try to bring the two of you together so that you can have a discussion about how to resolve this, I can probably do that.
Fuck. Well, I certainly didn't have having dinner with Galen on my 2025 bingo card, but considering the fact that he's essentially iced me out of City Hall entirely, I suppose the only way to get ahead is to climb into bed with the enemy. Then again, if he acts up, I'll kill him.
I think he's probably looking for some friends down here too, so, you know, might work out for the both of you.
What's your true motive here, Costa? You're not the one who would make friends. You make waves. So what are you fucking up to?
I want to show you something. And he reaches into his jacket again and pulls out a Polaroid and he slides it across the desk. And you see on it a picture of a piece of leather that is embossed with a black fleur-de-lis and has the words Exultatio in Inanis etched under it. You seen this floating around?
Storyteller, have I seen this floating around?
Give me a roll. In fact, while we're here, why don't you make a rouse check? And because I forgot, Margot, why don't you go and make a rouse check also?
I don't want to.
You don't have a choice. Start by making a rouse check.
Oh, I did not succeed on that.
I have 1 success.
All right. So you get 1 hunger, Fiona. And now give me a wits and streetwise roll.
Wits and streetwise. Apologies, it's a bit slow. That's 4 successes. I believe 1 has an onk with some little bitey marks on it. And 1 is red with a dot on it.
Well then, you are currently facing a messy critical.
Gross.
Would you like to roll with it, or would you like to spend a night move to negate the messy critical and get just a success?
I will spend a night move.
Okay.
To get a success on that because I don't want to kill this guy. We just started here.
You wouldn't kill him, but, you know, it would get funny.
Says you.
I'm the GM. You have seen this. You've heard about this. People are whispering about it. They're saying that there's some sort of shadowy organization or a group of people that is apparently not kindred. That's got a lot of money, and that the people who belong to this group or who work for them all carry this little thing with them, this mark.
Are we looking at kindred hunters?
As far as I know, they've done their best to try and stay away from us. They have been moving and operating, from what I can tell, for quite some time in Montreal, at least 2 years. And they've gone out of their way not to mess with us.
So why should I care now?
Because they've quietly built up a little bit of an empire. And no one builds up the kind of infrastructure they've built up unless they intend to use it. And I think they've been avoiding us and staying away from us while they were building up so that we wouldn't interrupt them while they were exposed or weak. But at some point, they're not going to be that way anymore.
And where did you get this intel?
Well, here and there. Most of it came from Solange, You know Solange?
I do.
Hmm?
I do.
He's the one who's been tracking them.
Interesting.
I mainly wanted to make you aware of them, that they're around, and that I think it could be very problematic, and just to keep an eye out for them.
And how would I recognize them aside from walking around looking like a bunch of French folks?
Look, I don't know. I'm just saying. If anyone reports seeing anyone with this mark, this symbol, pay attention to who they are, what they're doing. It might be important to start building up a little database of our own of who these fucks are.
I think that would be quite wise. Do we know any sort of demographic? What kind of people are these? You're saying they're not kindred, they're kind, but...
As far as we know, humans.
And that's all we got? That they're a threat?
Yep.
Oh, fuck.
They've...
Keeping another fucking pile of shit on my plate, aren't you?
Well, I'm a giver.
Fiona cracks a knuckle at that. Anything else, Costa?
No, but I enjoyed a little chat. We should have another one sometime soon and talk about the lay of the land. You're probably going to be asked to make some decision at some point, and I'd like to have an idea of which side you might end up on.
Oh, God. You know what I really don't fucking like? Someone speaking in vague, veiled ways in my fucking office.
You can't always get what you want, said the prophet.
Right.
That's the Rolling Stones.
No, I'm fucking aware.
Okay. Just checking. You seem more like a classical music kind of person, so I just figured I'd,
I seem like I'm gonna put my fucking Louboutins up your ass.
Absolutely. And I think that's my cue to get out of here. But do let me know if you
Very well.
come across
Thank
anything.
you for your help.
Oh, and I'll let you know about Red Path.
Yeah. Give him a
Fucking
kiss
people
from me, would you?
People call Red Galen. Jesus. I'll do just that, which I'm sure won't spark any sort of Bruja versus Ventrue war.
Yeah, that'll go well for them.
Take care of yourself, Wolf.
Cheers. Get out of my office.
I'm going. He walks on out. What do you do?
Fucking Christ. That's a really fucking good question. Because I feel like I just learned so much and then nothing at all because this fucking asshole. I'm gonna glance at my phone and see if I've heard from Margot at all lately. Just something different.
Have they heard from Margot at all lately?
I feel like the last thing that Margot probably sent Fiona was like a really obscure meme found in the depths of Reddit that she's certain Fiona won't understand, but she sends it anyway. And that's probably first thing that Margot got up and sent that.
With all the love in her heart, Fiona will always respond with LOL and a black heart emoji to whatever fucking nonsense Margot sends her way.
Margot's like, yeah, she really liked that. That was a good one. But yeah, that's probably the last time she's heard from Margot.
I'm going to send a text to Margot and say, what are you doing now? Fancy a drink?
Margot sends a text back. Working on a lead. I can make time.
Well, maybe your lead and my vague lead will mean we can get some action going.
You just get a bunch of question marks back.
I'll meet you at the place, whatever our place is.
Mario just sends K, which I feel like is probably infuriating.
Yeah, no, I hate that.
Meanwhile, back at the house, we'll let Elise finish typing whatever. There you go. I was just waiting for your response, Therese.
Foul.
Enemas in the chat. Enemas of the state.
No.
Elise, you have been sitting in the chair, the tattooing chair, for about an hour now. Fletcher's just finishing. There's not a lot of your body that's left uncovered at this point, but he always manages to find a little spot. And on the back of your hand, he has very carefully drawn out the symbol that he created a long while ago, the mix of your symbol and his, the sort of occult connection that you've made represented in this symbol. And as he finishes it and pours the molten silver onto it to make it permanent, you feel that tingling sensation that you always feel whenever he imbues one of your tattoos with some of his ritual magic. And as he's finishing it up and finishing with the silver, the little sharp pain that it brings, always so delicious, and just a perfect cap to the entire process of the tattooing. He says, I figured it's probably going to be a little difficult for us to keep in touch with the ban on cell phones and whatnot, and then I thought neither of us really use cell phones anyways. So I came upon this idea. Now, this is not going to work more than once without us having to be together and me re-empowering it. But if ever, while you're down there, you get into a spot of trouble, if you whisper my name to the ink in your hand, it's going to whisper it back to me, and he shows you where he has the same symbol etched here on his collarbone. It's only going to work the once, but I'll hear it and I'll come find you.
And it works both ways. Like you could whisper to me if something were wrong.
Unfortunately not.
Very well.
I'll be safe. I'll be here. In our little home. You're going to take Faraday with you, aren't you?
Of course. But he's like the closest thing I'd have to being around you. A little bit of home with me. You know how I get homesick.
Well, you're not leaving for a long time, are you? You're just a few nights?
Darling, I can barely stand a night away from here. A handful will feel like an eternity, I assure you.
I think that with what we saw in the ritual, with all the symbols kind of merging together, there's two you said are missing, the Ashen Crow and the Headless Man.
Yeah.
I think they're going to come to you. You just have to put yourself in a place where they can access you. And I think that perhaps if they've not done it so far, it's because they're probably down there or somewhere like that. What I'm trying to say is I don't think you need to go and kick over any rocks. I think you just need to go and be present.
Things do have a funny way of finding their selves to me, don't they?
Yes, but I think this one's especially strange and especially powerful. I don't know what this spell is exactly, but whatever it is, whatever plan Toisechel had in designing this formula, this plan, he had a very clear vision for it, and he clearly meant for all these things to come together. Now, I don't know how the loss of Seb is going to affect this. I get the feeling I might need to find a replacement, but we'll see when we get there. What I'm trying to say, my dearest love, is things are coming to you for a purpose that's yet unclear, and whoever set this in motion is clearly quite powerful. So you have to promise me to be careful.
Of course. I would want nothing less than coming back to you.
Even if something happened, you know we'd find each other again, right?
I always do.
I have one more thing for you. He goes over to his cabinet and opens it up after whispering a little incantation, and he opens the doors and he reaches in and he comes out with a wooden box, not too long, maybe about this long, and he opens it up and he says, in 1735, I had a little bit of an altercation with a La Sombra cardinal of the Sabbat in Germany. When it was over, I made this out of his femur, and he pulls out what looks like a very nicely hand-carved stiletto-style dagger made entirely out of one piece of bone. It has runes carved into it, some that you recognize, some that you don't. Like, this is particularly effective against things that have a connection to the other world.
I think she takes it very carefully and holds it up to her face. And as she's touching it, she's going to use her spirit's touch, her favorite thing.
You reach out with your senses. You see a place that you imagine as Germany a long time ago. You see a hand around Fletcher's throat. Fletcher looks very similar to the way he does now, except his hair is much longer and he has several piercings in his ears, and he's got a beard that is trimmed to the flavor of the period. And you see a hand around his throat, and you can see that his skin is burning. And as it burns, you can see that it's not burning from fire, but it's burning from within, as there are these spots of inky darkness that are digging their way out of his throat and sort of ripping it apart. And as they do, his skin is blackening as they spread. And as you're sensing this pain, and you can see the fear in Fletcher's eyes, the fact that he is certain he's about to meet his end, you hear a sharp crack, and you see dark blood spray across his face, and you see his eyes go wide, and the hand around his throat slips away, and the darkness starts to recede. And all that's left is Fletcher's face staring at something with this look of horror. on his face, but also a sense of relief. Be careful doing that with that thing. A lot's happened around that thing.
Have you ever thought about perhaps growing your hair back out?
I don't know, is long hair back in fashion for men? I don't know. I haven't bought a men's hairstyle magazine in never, so.
I'm afraid you're asking the wrong person.
You know me. I'm always au courant and always right at the edge of fashion. I don't think I've changed my hair in almost 100 years. Maybe it is time for a little redo, as they say. Keep this with you. He puts the box away and brings you a little leather sheet that has a strap so you could put it like on the inside of your thigh or something if you want. Keep this with you. Use it if you need to.
Perhaps one day you'll tell me more about this.
And as you say that, sorry, go ahead.
That's it.
As you say that, you see it for a moment, like he's back there, and you see again that fear that briefly kind of flares in his eyes, and whatever that story is, you know, is bad.
I think she dips down and comes up into his eye line.
Don't worry, you're not there anymore. You're here.
And she reaches out and touches his cheek.
Do you think about what it would be like sometimes to die again, but for real this time?
Sometimes I think about it. Do we just wink out like a candle? Or perhaps our souls float from our bodies and we can watch ourselves for a minute before we converge into the stars. Either way, I try not to dwell on it too much. I'm here now with you. That's all that matters.
I feel that, and I, of course, feel the same, but one of the things that I saw when I met this cardinal, the La Sombras practice a kind of magic. We have blood sorcery. The La Sombras practice something called abyss mysticism. It's a very dark form of magic that originates from the deepest part of some void that their blood gives them access to. It's said that powerful abyss mystics can reach a place inside of them that they can travel to called an oubliette, that is a place of pure void and of pure nothingness. And one of the things I saw when I dealt with that cardinal was that place. And what was dreadful about it was that it was a place of nothingness, but that came with the awareness of its nothingness. You were surrounded by nothing, you were nothing, but you were aware of it. And that was the most terrifying thing I've ever experienced.
Fools, stumbling around in darkness.
I agree, but as I'm talking about this, I'm getting this strange sense that we may be seeing something akin to this sometime soon.
Well, I hope for our sakes that if we were to be trapped there, we'd do so together. At least we'd have nice company.
Indeed. Indeed we would. What do you say we take the rest of the evening off and go see what some of our friends are up to?
That sounds lovely. Special occasion, since I'm going downstairs, to be around me and not your work.
Just for one night. It is Valentine's night after all.
Oh, yes.
As you step out of the office and head to find a little bit of entertainment with some of the friends that you have hanging around the house, I think it's a good time to take a little break, my friends. When we return, we will see how these little lives are going to converge on each other and just exactly how deep is your love.
Is it like the ocean?
It's like an oubliette. Was that a tight 10? Or was that more like a tight 15? I feel like it was a tight 10. That was probably more like
Loose
a tight
12,
15.
I believe, is the term that was used.
A loose 12.
Tight.
Kay's out there in chat saying that the chat is thirsty tonight, but I think the chat is thirsty every night. And I mean, how would you not be thirsty? Look at this table. I
You
mean,
want
not
some
me,
water,
not
little
me,
baby
but the other
birds?
4. Look at that hotness that's there. It's the kind of stuff we give you for Vampire Nights. What are you drinking in there, Creep Blood?
No, it's lime fizzy water. I'm a classy girl.
So
My water
classy.
has bubbles in it.
You're so classy.
I made a poop, I do.
Are you getting Baja blasted as we speak?
I was actually, but now it's just Baja water.
Let's get back into it. Margot, you became aware there was a message waiting for you at the dead drop.
Is it in a bottle?
Nope. It's in a
Unfortunate.
locker. You
Okay.
find your way to Berry-UQAM bus station, which is near the Berry-UQAM University, the UQAM University, but also the station, the Berry-UQAM station, is where 3 of the main metro lines meet. So it's kind of a hub, and outside of it, upstairs, there's like this. It's where all the Greyhounds and all the buses go in Montreal. It's one of the 2 places they stop at. One of the areas where there are lockers is kind of cordoned off, and there's like a repair sign or something like that. But it's basically where there is a dead drop for the Tenebrous message system. When you retrieve your message from the dead drop, you find it small piece of paper typed out on a typewriter. The Nosferatu are not messing around. Typed out on a typewriter. It says very simply, a ghost looking for a ghost. You may wish to look here. And then it says Dépôt Clé 777.
Does this mean anything to Margot?
Yes. There is in Montreal an old storage warehouse on Van Horn Street called Dépôt Clé. And you assume that 777 would be a storage locker room there. Now, the Van Horn storage warehouse is only partially operating these days. There's a big movement. There's currently a lot of back and forth about it because there's a group that is trying to get it to be converted into public housing. And meanwhile, there is another group that's trying to get it converted into a hotel. So there's a lot of political friction about it, but it's still on some of the floors operating as a storage locker warehouse, basically.
Got it. I'll pocket the note and text Fiona a quick on my way message. and head towards a bar.
What kind of bar do you guys hang out at?
A cool one.
A cool divey one.
Yeah, very divey.
Super dive.
Super
Glasses, pint glasses. Not entirely sure they are clean.
Well, I know you'd mentioned a pub, but if you're looking for the dive in Montreal, that would be the Copacabana that I suggested earlier.
Fine, we're going to the Copacabana. For some reason, Bleak really wants us to go to the Copacabana. I don't know why, but I think
I'm
he
just
likes
saying that it is like the Ultimo dive, Montreal. You could also go to the Beefsteak on Saint Laurent, which is also
we're gonna. You want us to go to Copacabana? We're gonna go to Copacabana.
You
That's
go to
where we're going.
Copacabana. First of all, it's got nothing to do with the Copacabana. That's just the name of the place. It has all these mismatched tables and chairs. One wall, you know that big. You used to see this a lot in the 70s. This big like full wall wallpaper, and it's kind of like a sunset in the Bahamas or something like that, right? That kind of thing. So one wall is like that. With some of the pieces of it kind of stripped off and just like has been there forever from whatever place used to be here. People refer to this bar as the Copa, kind of just, colloquially. And there's an old jukebox in a corner. There's hockey playing silently on a couple of old TVs around the place. And it's the same 15 people that are here every night. There are plastic trees.
Are they covered in dust?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like never been dusted. Cool.
Never been dusted. And this is one of those places where people order draft beer and then pour it in their glasses and then put salt on top of it.
What the fuck are they doing in Montreal?
Their best.
Living our best lives.
Fiona's already sat at the bar. Just like at the far end in the usual spot.
I feel like the moment that Margot gets there, there is the unmistakable stomping of jump boots that sort of signals her existence.
It's music to my ear, my dear. Love those boots.
She'll saddle up next to you and sort of like hunched over the bar. They're comfortable enough.
I love a good pair of shit kickers.
They do the job. What's that?
Yeah. Dealing with some fucking red tape bureaucracy bullshit. Makes me feel like a fucking suit. What about you?
Lead. Weird lead. Not good.
Tell me more.
Some asshole who goes around and wines and dines girls, makes them feel like a princess, and then beats the shit out of them.
As that happens, there's like a ripple that starts at the back of Fiona's neck and goes down her spine, and she turns and looks at Margot, and you see that her eyes are almost like slits, like animalistic. Do you need some help?
I feel like Fiona is met with sort of like an odd grin on Margot's face. Like, this is the shit she lives for. I would love some help from you.
God. I've been dealing with all these fucks over at City Hall, and all I want to do is kick a fucking skull in.
Yeah, I think that we might be on the right track for that. Just one problem.
What's that?
No name, no face yet. Last girl, he fucked up. She's in the hospital.
Hospital? Which one?
What was the hospital again? Blake, I'm sorry.
The CHUM, CHUM. CHUM, it's the Centre Hospitalier de l'Université de Montréal.
Bless you.
Because
I know what that is. I go. I'll put in a call.
I don't think she's ready to talk yet. If you can just get some eyes to find out when she is. I gave my contacts the go ahead to give her my number. but some weird things. Symbols and something about a hive, the hive, whatever that fucking means.
What kind of symbols?
She describes what she saw or what she was told on the leather notebook or the black notebook.
Presumably Fiona kept the Polaroid that Costa had.
Yeah.
I go, did it look something like this? And I slap it down on the bar.
Described like that. I haven't seen it myself.
Interesting.
What do you have that for?
Well, had someone pop by the office today that said, it said that there's a group here in the city that is, not kindred, and apparently is, well, I guess they've been building some sort of empire in secret the whole time, and they've been keeping eyes on us. Not us as in you and me, us as in...
Yeah. The fuck?
Yeah, I've got no fucking idea. But it sounds like your Prince Charming there is somehow affiliated.
Yeah, it must be. Maybe that's this hive they're talking about. The hive. I can't stand it when groups of douchebags call themselves some equally douchebaggery name. The hive. Ooh, the hive.
Yeah, you know that they name themselves. Fuck.
Who gives yourselves a nickname? Nobody should fucking do that. Listen. Point is, I don't know, you want to fucking kick the hornet's nest?
You know I fucking do.
It's been a while since I've had a good beating given out.
Mm.
But she digs into her pocket and like pulls out like a candy wrapper or two and stuffs that back in, but pulls out that paper with that note. Storage facility. Ghost for ghost. I'm feeling pretty spooky.
Well, you do sort of give off that vibe.
Good. So that's sort of where we're at right now. I feel like I gotta check this out. But this hive shit.
I'll put my feelers out and see what I can find out at the hospital or anything more about this. Might have to ring up that fuck Costa again.
I like to meet this fucker then. If I've got girls out here who are getting fucked up, but you know somebody who might know something, I need to know who they are.
Right. Well, he seems to make himself scarce unless he just drops by on a whim, so I'll try and see if I can shake him out of the trees.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to necessarily go do this meeting alone. I don't know what I'm in for. No recon. Yeah.
Happy to go along if you need it.
Yeah, at least just in case shit goes sideways.
Right. And I bend down and pop my shoes off and toss them into a ratty JanSport backpack, and I pull out my boots and slide them on. They're like the things that I've had resold like 8 times over the last several years. All right. I feel much more myself.
You look it.
Thanks.
Shot before we go?
Fuck yes. Barkeep, 2 tequilas, please.
You want the good stuff or the good stuff? I'm kidding.
Do
All
you
I got
have
is
that?
Jose Cuervo.
Fuck.
Hey, same the Ritz? He pours a couple shots and he puts a couple pieces of lemon on it and he slides the salt shaker over.
I slap the lemon off.
Yeah, Margot doesn't. She just like kind of looks at it like, what am I supposed to do with that anyway? And then knocks it back.
to your health. Sláinte. Slam that shot.
Something like that.
And as the two of you teeter off, fortified by some of Dr. Cuervo's best medicine, Desmond, you rolled terribly. You started hearing about some sort of protest thing going on. Apparently, so here's the thing about Montreal. There was a time when Montreal hockey fans would riot when the Habs, the Montreal Canadiens, lost. But they would also riot when the Habs won. They would also riot when the Habs were not playing. And there was a time when they just riot because the Habs were in existence. But things have kind of calmed down a little bit since then. But you heard something about maybe some kind of anti-fascist thing going on. You tried to find it. You started walking around the city and soon just kind of found yourself completely lost. Just completely unsure of where you were. But you realized as you're walking that things are starting to feel a bit more familiar. And that keeps you putting one foot in front of the other. You have no clue where you're going. You don't know what's happening. You just know that things feel a little bit more familiar than they have for the longest time. And at some point, you find yourself standing in front of a wrought iron gate. There is a little guardhouse next to it. And this fairly well-dressed individual wearing suit, not a, top of the line, I'm a CEO kind of suit, but I'm a guard at some rich important person's front gate kind of suit. He moves forward and he comes to the gate and he goes, "Can I help you, sir?"
And Desmond doesn't respond for a few moments. He is staring around, trying to figure out where he is, how he came to be here, and then debating how they want to respond to this because they so rarely speak. And so initially, Desmond responds by signing to this man rather than speaking out loud.
What do you say in sign language?
He says, "My apologies, I'm lost. Where am I?"
And perhaps to your surprise, he signs back. He says, "You're lost?"
Desmond nods.
He signs to wait for a moment. He goes back into the little guardhouse. After a moment, you see a little door open on the side of the house. Like there's basically like the driveway goes up and then goes to the side, and the garage door's on the side, and then there's like a pathway that goes up to the front of the house. So to the side where the garage door would be, a door opens. And a young man comes walking out towards you, and as he's moving towards you, the guard comes out and talks to him briefly, and then the young man that came out of the house walks up to you and goes, "I'm sorry, I'm told that you are mute, but you can understand me, right? I don't sign. I apologize." Just nod, can you?
Desmond nods.
He says, "Just so you know, we're aware that you are what you are. You're at the home of a few people like you. Did you want to see someone?"
Desmond just stares at the man, making direct eye contact the entire time, before very, very slowly nodding again.
Were you here to see Regent Fletcher?
Desmond shakes his head.
Okay. Come in. And he motions to the guards, and they press a button, and the wrought iron gate slowly pulls out a little bit. It's like, all right, come with me. My name's Faraday. Just come with me.
And Desmond just nods in response to that, does not offer his name.
He brings you around the side, and you go in through the little door, and you find yourself in a garage, a 3-car garage, got a few vehicles in it. He goes up a short set of stairs and opens another door, and you find yourself entering into what would best be described as a mansion straight out of a Victorian occultist's dream. There is all this rich dark wood, these beautiful tapestries, these beautiful paintings hanging everywhere. There is a sense of something strange and mysterious about the place. The floors are this really beautiful, thick hardwood, richly ingrained and beautiful detail work in all of the carvings and engravings, and everything is just beautiful, dark, and there's this sense of something lingering here that speaks to you in a way that nothing else in Montreal so far has. You, again, if, like I said earlier, it's kind of like being in a room that you've never been in, but there's a lingering scent, like a perfume or something that is familiar. But now on top of that, there are sounds, there is a very concrete sense of connection, more than you've felt since you've arrived in Montreal. Elise, you are, after having spent some time entertaining with Fletcher and hanging out with Marjolaine and Laurence and some of the others that are here, you were getting ready to retire, the two of you, to your room, when Faraday comes knocking at the door and says, "There's a kindred here. He appears to be mute. There's something strange about them. I asked if he was here to see someone. He nodded, and then I asked if he was here to see the regent, and after a moment's reflection, he shook his head no. So I brought him in, and I'm wondering what you would like me to do about him." And Fletcher looks to you, please. Expecting people?
No, I wasn't. It's strange. Perhaps someone has found their way to me. And I think she stands.
He brings you your evening house coat and puts it around your shoulders. Well, I guess we might as well go see what this is about. Faraday, do you just let in any random kindred who walks to the front door? I can't explain it, Regent. There is something about them. It's I can't see their face and I didn't hear their voice, but I felt like I'd met them before.
I think she touches Faraday's cheek as she's passing him. You can sense things. You'll be fine. Thank you, Faraday.
Yes, mistress.
She's gonna walk out.
You are in the room, and I have this kind of image. You've been brought into this drawing room. You can see that there's a big fireplace that's not currently in use. There are books. There's this big table with like a lot of chairs around it. Beautiful couches, big high leather high back chairs. Just like a total kind of, Victorian dream. And I kind of imagine you're standing in the middle of the room and haven't sat down or anything. As you stand here, the feeling that you're getting is not so much that you know this book or you know this painting, but that they are books or paintings that you might have chosen to own. Like they speak to you in a way that feels like in another time, another place, you might have, these are exactly the type of things you might have had in your own home. The door opens and you see two people walk in. One of them is a man who looks to be a very kind of roguish kind of character. He's wearing these sort of they're almost kind of like silk balloon pants almost, but tucked into his boots. He's got this tight shirt on. His hair is slicked back. He's got a bit of beard, and he's got that kind of, he's got a bit of a, rogue kind of ne'er-do-well look to him, and he's got quite a number of tattoos all over his body. And accompanying him is a very beautiful woman, and when I say that, I mean that Preet took the merit of stunningly beautiful. So not only is the character beautiful, the character is overwhelmingly. But I will let Elise describe herself.
Yeah, you see this very, very short, very small, petite woman, and she is draped in a very luxurious, what you could presume is a very old kimono that she likes to haunt the halls of her home in. It's the only thing she's wearing. She's got it kind of tucked around and tied at the waist, and she's barefoot, and she has tattoos littered all over her pale skin, and the way that she walks is with this sort of fluid cat-like grace as she tiptoes into the room. She'll get close enough to you. Where do you come from? Looking for little old me?
Desmond startles in response to the sound of Elise's voice, and that unsettles them almost as much as the fact that they are here in this house that feels so familiar in this way, and that they responded in those ways to be allowed in, which, as soon as they walked inside, there was a moment of panic, a moment of, what trap have I walked into now? But then the familiarity set in. Then the realization that for some reason, some way, they are meant to be here, but they never let their guard down enough to have someone get as close as Elise has just gotten. And he almost drops the book, but manages not to knock it off the shelf and speaks without realizing he's about to speak. I do not know why I'm here.
Are you lost?
I was.
Do you have a name, little lost boy?
You may call me Desmond.
Desmond. That's a nice name.
What of you?
Oh, I'm Elise. This is Fletcher.
Can we get you something to drink?
No, thank you.
Would you like to sit?
I think I would, yes.
Very good.
I think she's going to take your arm and kind of lead you over to a seat. And as she's doing this, of course, Elise is working her magic, and she's going to use... I think I want to use Scry the Soul at this point.
So first things first, go ahead and give me a rouse check since we didn't do one for you tonight.
Fun. I always fail these. I did it for once.
Oh.
Success! We love that. How rare indeed. And...
So you're going to do Scry the Soul?
Yes.
So the cost is 1 rouse check, so you have to do another rouse check.
I got another success.
Wow, you're on a roll.
That one was a critical success too.
Oh, excellent.
Oh my god.
So Elise is going to do intelligence plus auspex, and you're going to do composure plus subterfuge, JD.
All right.
All right, that's 2 successes. Oof. I would like to use a night move, or I have to say that before.
No, you can say it after, but it costs 2 night moves to get 2 extra dice.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll do that.
I mean, I will say creep. I got 0 successes.
Okay, I got 0 successes out of those additional night moves, so.
But you got 2.
Just killing it.
You got 2 though, so that's good enough to begin with. You can ask 2 questions of Desmond, since you got 2 successes more than Desmond did, on that from that list that's listed there. I would also probably allow others if you want to run them by me if there's something specific you want to ask.
Okay. I think I would be curious to the emotional state of Desmond currently.
There are a mixture of emotions you feel flowing through him. There is definitely a thread of anxiety, though you get the sense that that is always there to an extent. The most predominant emotions, though, are confusion and longing.
And I think the other thing I would like to know is the resonance of Desmond's blood.
God. What is the resonance of my blood? My blood is melancholy.
Oh, it's confused by sad blood.
Yeah.
Confused sad blood.
Describes every character I've ever played.
Actually, if he was a priest on top, that would really be every character.
It's true.
You, Elise, on top of that, as you reach out with your spirit's touch and read Desmond, you get something else. You get a lingering, strange smell that you could only describe as a stench of death or the stench of the grave. And you feel like there's a small portion of Desmond that is locked away that you can't read. Like there's like a black, a bunch of dead pixels in one corner of the Desmond screen.
In reading the resonance of his blood, do I feel anything special from that in the way that I've felt around some of the other peoples who have just made their way to me?
I think so. I think that you clearly feel. So here's how I'm going to explain it to you. Imagine that the resonance and all the blood of all the others you've met was a song. You are now listening to a tape that has been re-recorded over a few times. But when you hear that new song that's playing on that tape, which is the resonance of Desmond's blood, you can still hear the faint echoes, ghostly notes of the underlying song, and it's the same as you've encountered in the.
Okay. When she leads Desmond to the chair, does he sit down?
He does. He also gently but firmly moves the arm you're touching away from you.
You felt when Elise touched you, Desmond, you felt as if for a moment her hand had gone through your skin and inside of you and had touched you, spiritually, like had touched your soul for a moment, and you felt her reading and seeing things beyond the physical world.
Desmond does not pull away any more strongly, though there is an increased tension visible in his body.
I imagine this chair is in sort of like a little sitting area in this room, and very nearby, even probably perhaps across from this chair, there's like a fainting style couch. And Elise, after kind of do what?
A divan.
Yeah.
On the divan.
Elise, after kind of like sitting you at your seat, floats over to it and just like drapes herself along this couch, looking at you from across the way.
Strange that you should end up here. What are you looking for?
I am looking for a great many things. I suppose I'm doing what we all do to an extent. I am looking to remember. Reminisce.
Remember? Have you forgotten something?
Well, hundreds of years go by, and I suppose we all forget things.
Perhaps some of us do. I suppose. There's something special about you, though, isn't there? Your blood sings to me. Sings a song I've heard before.
And what song is that, Elise?
I'm not sure. Still trying to make out the composition. But the notes are all there.
Elise has been building a symphony of sort, bringing together various little parts of this piece of music she's hearing in her head. We're curious, I guess, and he gives you, Elise, a look like, is this maybe one of them? We're curious, I guess, if you might not be part of that song.
Do you go by any other names, Desmond? Do others call you other things?
Well, my friend Tristan calls me Des, though I do not imagine that is what you are asking.
No. Cute, though.
Show him. Show him the two that have not gathered on your body.
She reveals constellations, tattoos, sigils. I seek a headless man and the ashen crow. Do they sound familiar to you?
Desmond has been sitting there very still as he listens to you, Elise, and as they stare at those various tattoos etched across your skin. And yet, somehow, he stills all the more. You clearly getting his attention when you say the name, the Ashen Crow. And he chuckles the slightest bit. The Ashen Crow. That's a name I have not heard in a very, very long time.
And as you watch, you see the strangest thing. On Elise's foot, there is this one tattoo that could be in a Rorschach pattern reading kind of way, appear to be a bird in flight. And you watch as the ink from the tattoo starts to slowly move and migrate up her leg. And you notice that a lot of her tattoos have this faint silvery gleam to them. And as the ink of the tattoo of the bird starts to move slowly up her legs sinuously, you see that the silver drags behind a little bit in a bit of a wave. And you can see that it is actual silver that is now moving slowly as this tattoo, very, very slowly, avoiding the other tattoos, moves further and further up her leg until it goes over her hip bone and over her stomach and joins a group of other such tattoos tattooed right over her chest here. And the ink starts to merge with it. And as it does, you can see that it's forming a new design, and you know instinctively that this design is not complete, there's something missing. But as this design joined the others and they start to meld, and the silver is just these kinds of rays or waves around it, you feel an extremely, extremely strong sense of familiarity. Kind of like when you get a sense of deja vu and you know what's going to happen next. You hear a few bars of a song and you know what the next bar is going to be like. You watch a scene in a play and you know exactly what's going to come next. As you watch this symbol on her chest, you don't know why, but you know what it's going to be next. And you know that whatever that is going to be intrinsically tied to you.
Seems as if our little bird's found his flock.
And Desmond has both a hunger and now a visible fear in his eyes as he watches this happen, as he watches the tattoo change. And he takes a moment before saying, I am very, very tired of my fate not being my own to determine.
Well, perhaps you'll fix that.
If I may, Desmond, Do you own any red books or know anything about a red book?
Do I, storyteller?
You do. The bookstore owned by Tristan is called the Red Book.
There's a moment where Desmond takes that question very literally and starts to shake his head, and then pauses, realizes that he is not thinking as broadly as he needs to. I know of a place called the Red Book.
Where is this place?
I can bring you there.
Will it be a far travel?
If I'm honest, I'm not entirely certain how long I have been walking or where I came from, so debatable.
Well, dawn will be upon us soon. Probably best if you stay here with us then tonight. And tomorrow we can figure out how to get you where you're going. If you're amenable to this.
Seeing as my alternative would be to greet the sun, I suppose I have no choice but to be amenable to this.
Don't worry. We're practiced hosts. Elise has a knack for gathering lost souls about her. Don't you, darling?
Well, hospitality is a nice trait to have. It's good for the soul, keeping so many friends about. We'll have a room for you. Faraday could get you squared away.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. And I think she kind of lays her head back and looks up to Fletcher with like that smile of the cat who caught the mouse.
See, they always make their way here.
And Fletcher runs his hand down the side of your face and then wraps it very gently around your throat and says, "They do, dear. The cat always gets the mouse." Meanwhile, a few hours earlier, you have made your way to the Dippoclé Van Horn warehouse. One of the interesting things happening right now, as I was saying, is that there are questions about what is to become of this warehouse, and some enterprising souls that the wolf may or may not have had anything to do with, have set up across the street a projector that projects these various slogans across the building, basically clamoring for it to become social housing or to be given back to the people, making fun of the government, as the Prime Minister famously said that if people wanted to not be poor anymore, they should invest in real estate. Things of that nature being projected onto the side of the building through the night. When you arrive, it's quite late. It's in the middle of the night, basically, and the place is closed. But I'm sure that's not going to stop enterprising vampires such as yourselves.
Yep. I think Margot doesn't even think twice about looking for somewhere to break in.
Mm-hmm.
In the back, you will find easy access to various doors, as there are a couple of loading docks and other doors. I would ask you to go ahead and make me a dexterity and larceny check.
Dexterity and larceny. I would love to be able to do that for you. I got 2 successes.
What else?
I did get.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I got one with the unk filled in.
Oh yeah, that's a 10. That's fine.
Okay.
It's
I did a good
meaningless
job.
in this particular scenario.
Okay.
You manage quite easily to pick the lock and open the door. You find yourself inside, and a quick look around will show you that there are, in fact, 7 floors. So you figured that 777 probably means somewhere on the 7th floor. However, it is pretty clear that only the first 3 floors are still in operation.
Great.
Are we about to find something really fucked up on this 7th floor then?
I don't know. I'm starting to look at it more like 777, like at slot machines, right? That's good. That's definitely not going to get us murdered.
Yeah, well, eyes up. You know the old ways.
We'll be fine.
Your options appear to be a set of stairs or a freight elevator. Now, I want to stress that this is one of the oldest buildings in Montreal. Everything inside is made of wood, old wood. Everything has that, old whiskey distillery kind of feel to it. This old warehouse built, in the Victorian era, basically, and the planks have all shrunk to the point where there's cracks between all the planks of the floor and the walls and so on and so forth. The first 3 floors have electrical lighting and appear to have been maintained to a certain degree, but it is creaky as fuck. What would you like to do? Would you like to take the stairs, or would you like to use the freight elevator?
Oh, fuck a freight elevator.
We'll take the stairs. Yeah.
Yeah, not a fucking idiot.
No, yeah.
You climb up. Eventually, once you reach the 4th floor, the doors leading further up on that landing are locked also.
Well. Guess we're gonna just practice a little bit, huh? And pull out a lockpick kit for my bag.
Dexterity and larceny, please. I love that skill, larceny. It's just so great. Like, I can do weird shit. Illegal.
That's 2 successes, but I got 1 critical on my hunger die and 1 failure on my hunger die, but I got 1 10 on my regular die. So this is a fucking mess.
Yeah. All that really matters is the critical and the hunger die. As you start picking this lock, you've managed to accomplish a messy critical. Would you like to write it out, or would you like to spend a night move to cancel it out?
You know what? This is just fucking fun, so let's write it out.
You do such a great job of unlocking this door that you barely touch it. You are getting ready, you kind of sit down, and there's this chain with this padlock, and just as your lockpicks are about to slide in, just when you get just the tip in, the thing unlocks and the chain slides off, goes through the ring where it's at. The padlock flips up, barely missing your face, goes through one of those cracks in the floor, rips one of the planks on the way down, and you sit there like Gandalf and that fool of a took, listening to this chain with this padlock on it clatter down through the stairwell. And every time you think it's done, there's one more shrink to pong, crack, ting, pack, kong. And it goes on for a little bit.
Hey, Fiona?
Yeah.
Do you think that you can maybe be a little bit quieter?
I will certainly try.
Yeah. I don't necessarily want to alert whatever doom is awaiting us at 777 that we're quite on the way yet. That was very loud.
But I got the job done. How about that? And I give her kind of like a little like slap on the chest.
That's my boob.
You continue climbing up, eventually reaching the 7th floor. When you do, you find yourselves in a long corridor lined on either side by old, decrepit storage room locker doors. The doors themselves don't even have locks on them anymore. There are a couple of old light bulbs that you flick a switch and get a little bit of light going. At the very end of this corridor, as you can see in the image, is a door that is open. One of the storage locker doors is open. There's a red light above that door that is shining.
I think that might be my locker there.
Right, we're not totally gonna get fucking killed on this one.
Let's find out. The night is young. And Margot just heads right there. She sort of walks a little awkwardly. She's like shimmying and she's kind of getting a hand on her ass just to have it.
Did you say a hand on her ass?
Asp.
Okay.
The P.
The P's important.
Asp.
You walk along these extremely creaky floors, but you notice that the place is fairly clean. There's no dust, there's no debris. Your footsteps echo around the place. At some point, you're pretty sure you heard something further downstairs. You think maybe your chain from earlier attracted whatever night guard might be in this place.
Great.
You hear like a ch of a radio, then nothing. You continue moving down this corridor. When you get to the end, when you get to that open door, you see that there's a plaque next to it and it reads 775.
Oh, fuck.
What you got?
Says 775.
Well,
we need 777.
When you
now.
look inside the storage locker, you see this very old, very rickety, barely holding together ladder that goes up.
Well, this looks safe.
You mind holding a ladder for me there?
I'll foot it any day, dear. And I like sidle up and just brace my boot up against the foot of the ladder. Climb away. I got you.
Now, Liz, if something grabs me and I start screaming for help, you can't. I'm not joking. This isn't a joke. Okay, it's not like that time.
Well, I know. We did spend a fair amount of time urban exploring, as the kids are calling it these days.
Well, yeah, I called it looking for a new place to hang out, but whatever. Hideouts and shit. It's not like that. Listen.
It's not cigarettes and 40s anymore, so.
You got it. And she starts climbing.
Also, just a FYI, you have that oogity-boogity bullshit. You could drape yourself in the mantle of blackness.
I could. Or I can just let whoever knows up here that I'm not fucking around.
I like that, but, you know, it's your nose.
We'll see what happens. Wish me luck.
Good luck.
As you climb up the ladder, a smell reaches you. It's the smell of new car.
I love that smell. So does Margot.
You climb up, finding yourself in a darkened hallway, at the very end of which is a door. The smell of new car gets a little stronger.
Ozone.
What was that?
Nothing. And she's gonna keep walking towards that door.
You approach the door. Do you go up, kiddo, or do you stay down in the
I think that I probably stay put for a moment, just to make sure no one is coming up quick.
You in fact hear sound. Someone coughing discreetly and then wood creaking somewhere behind you, back down the hallway you just came.
I go up like 3 rungs on the ladder, and I go, I don't mean to be an alarmist, but there's someone here.
You're staring at a door, Margot. It's got a very big, brand new padlock on it. The scent of new car is quite strong.
Handle it. And I'm going to keep walking towards that door.
You get to it. The lock's staring at you. Would you like to attempt to pick it?
Yeah.
Fiona, what are you doing?
As soon as she says handle it, I go into my bag and I pull out a pair of very nice looking brass knuckles. Just slide them on.
You hear creaking. There's footsteps approaching. Upstairs, Margot, what are you doing?
One success.
One success is good enough. You pick the lock. It's a very big, very brand new lock, but it doesn't seem to be a very good one. You open it up. You push the door open. The first thing you notice is reminiscent of a film perhaps that you saw at some point, but there are a vast number of those little trees that smell in cars. Easily a few hundred of them hanging from the ceiling.
Oh, fuck.
And neatly corded are what you figure to be about 30 bodies wrapped in plastic.
Ah, fuck.
Thanks for the raid, lollygaggers. You've lollygagged in just in time. As they've just found a room with about 30 bodies wrapped in plastic, corded very neatly. What do you do, Margot?
I tighten my grip on the asp and start walking through these bodies.
You walk through them. Most of them are just lying on the floor, stacked neatly. In some places, they're corded, 1 or 2 on top of each other. The place is... You're barely able to move through it without touching one of them.
Margot doesn't give a shit, but as she does, she is kind of looking at their faces, if possible, if she can discern anything from beyond the plastic.
As you look at the face of a few of them, you see condensation in the plastics.
Oh.
Walked right into a spider's nest.
Interesting. Margot's she's gonna stop at one and she's gonna push down on the plastic on the face to tighten it around them, and she's gonna see if there's any movement.
As you do, the person in the plastic starts to moan. The moan is somewhere between pleasure and pain. Then suddenly all of them, all at the same time, start to intone this ringing, moaning sound. All of them in the plastic bags start to move as all the bodies inside of them start to move and fight against their bonds. All of them moaning and groaning in pleasure and pain. And as you look up, you see on the wall, painted in white paint, as you stand there amidst these writhing bodies wrapped in their cocoons of plastic, hearing their moans of pleasures and pain, you read, Margot Bernier, let's play? ? With 2 hearts run through with an arrow. And on that note, my friends, we're going to end tonight's Valentine's night. session of Vampire the Masquerade.
Bleak blocked again, baby.
You're welcome.